What's up, everybody? This is Dominic DeAngelo of WrestleZone.com, and this is the first ever live, Marcus, we're doing it live.
We'll do it live.
Of WCW Rewritten, and this is episode 8. We are covering the February 2nd episode, 1998 of Monday Nitro, and this is Marcus, my degenerate brother, reimagining WCW. So this is WCW Rewritten, if I didn't say that. But
yeah,
hey,
I don't know if you said that, Dominic, but yes, it is WCW Rewritten, where we've been writing WCW, rewriting WCW ever since Starrcade 1997. We're all the way up to February now. We just had a hellacious pay-per-view at Sold Out 1998, and now we're building toward Uncensored 1998.
That is correct. So if you're tuning in, feel free to interact with us. Give us some feedback. If you have watched or listened to the show on our podcast feed, give us some your thoughts on it so far. If you're just introducing yourself to the show and everything like that, just type in some stuff like who you want to see like reimagined in WCW, like what you would like to see different, and just give us any kind of feedback and that general stuff. So
yep. I am not sensitive, so go ahead and
you can criticize the hell out of me.
I don't care. Or if you just feel I've been dropping the ball, I haven't been mentioning somebody enough, or haven't given somebody their push, brother, then by all means, let me know.
Yeah, and also, Marcus, is there something that maybe you want to kind of introduce the audience to right now before you get to kicking, since this is a live episode?
Introduce them to be more specific, Dominic.
Like kind of like catch them up on maybe something specific or anything that you think pertinent to somebody that's just tuning in and acclimated with this all.
Well, one of the things that I think is a pretty big storyline that's been going on is Eddie Guerrero as a whole. Eddie Guerrero, he was kind of used right halfway in WCW. A lot of things they could have done better. I mean, we never got to see Eddie Guerrero take on Bret Hart. We never got to see Eddie Guerrero against some of the greats like Piper. And so I've changed that. The first pay-per-view Sold Out. It was Eddie Guerrero versus Piper, and Guerrero went over. Sorry if that's a spoiler. Go back to the archives and listen. But yeah, so now it's, he's starting to feud with Bret Hart. And let me tell you, Dominic, that heats up a little bit, especially because he's got his group, which I've established, Los Latinos, and they're coming up against Bret Hart's group, which, by the way, I revealed the name for this week.
Yeah. Well, also, you have that. We also have a reimagined Wolfpack. It's not associated with the NWO. It's Scott Hall led, and Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Kevin Nash, Conan, all are in that mix of this own new Wolfpack. Eddie Guerrero's faction is not LWO. It's what, Marcus?
Los Latinos.
Correct. So, very neat stuff you've been doing, and you've been introducing some new wrestlers. Somebody made a big debut last week that was never in WCW at this moment in time.
Yeah, during this era, he was strictly working the indies, and I think sitting home. And that's Tully Blanchard. So yeah, he made his debut last week, and let me just tell you, we see him in action tonight.
Heck yeah, man! Heck yeah! Well, he's in action. He's in the ring.
Let's just go to the show, Dom, and we'll get it figured out.
Very well. Let's kick it off then, Marcus. If you're not aware, too, I am just kind of like a sounding board. So Marcus tells me what's going on, and I kind of react. I don't know what the hell he's booked or how he's reimagined, and I've criticized him a couple times on here. But so far, I've really liked what he's done so far, and that's not because he's my asshole brother.
I appreciate that, in spite of the asshole comment. Dominic, did you want to tell them what actually happened at Nitro on February 2nd?
Yes, you got a vamp here for a second so I can pull that up exactly.
Dominic, you never have it queued up, you bastard.
I never have it queued up.
I'll tell you what, that's why on our other podcast, which is called Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude, where we once a week review AEW Dynamite, I refer to him as my slapdick brother, Dominic DeAngelo. So yeah, guys, by the way, if you're into AEW, Dominic and I, once a week, we review it. We talk about it, good and bad. We don't pull any punches, but we're also quick to praise what they do well. I always compare it to WCW circa 1995. That's what I think AEW is at right now. They're just starting to kind of get momentum. Now they just need that NWO moment, like actual WCW had, to really push them over the top.
And fun fact, tomorrow that show will be live as well. We're going to go live for that. Around 8 p.m. Right, Marcus?
Oh my goodness. Yes, that sounds like a blast. Daryl McCleary, thanks for writing in. He's locked into this and he wants to do something similar with ECW. Boy. That would be awesome, dude. That would be really cool. By all means, if you've got ideas for ECW, why not? I'm doing this because I was a huge fan of WCW and I was missing it so much that I was like, it would have been so cool if they did this, or like, man, if they had done this and, you know, maybe they would have beat WWE. And so now it's, I'm thinking about all the possibilities. So that's awesome. I hope you do something with ECW.
And it's just kind of neat to like kind of go back and like, you know, as kids, you know, you'd be like, oh man, I wanted to see this happen. Or as a kid, I didn't even know Jericho had so much potential as a star and everything like that. And here, you know, he was underutilized and then eventually made his debut in WWE. So it's like, to kind of go back and think about all that stuff is really cool. And, you know, obviously, like, people always like, you know, fantasy book criticize and whatever. But this podcast, this series is just for fun. So we're just having a good time. Marcus, you have a standard or set of rules that you follow through with and everything. And it's just, you know, you keep it pretty professional around here for fantasy booking.
Yeah, I tried to. And let me tell you, man, it is not easy. So when I first started, I actually said on one of the podcasts, like, you know, it's really not that bad, but it's hard. It's hard. It's kind of like every week I have a big old puzzle laid out in front of me. I have to figure out how I want to put it together. Dominic, what actually happened on February 2nd in WCW before we fire this off?
Yes. Okay. So, wow. Listen to this. Listen to this dark match. Riggs defeated Jose Lothario Jr. in a dark match.
Whoa.
On February 2nd, 1998 Nitro. How's about
Groundhog's Day?
Groundhog's Day. Man. You going to have any Bill Murray references on this episode of Nitro, Marcus?
Well, we'll find out. I mean, it is Groundhog's Day, Dom. I probably should.
Yeah.
That first step is a doozy.
Ned?
Go ahead, Dom.
Needle Nose Ned? Okay. Juventud Guerrero defeated Psychosis in a singles match. Ultimo Dragon defeated Kidman in a singles match. Chris Jericho successfully defended his WCW Cruiserweight title against Super Calo. Wow. He had quite the unique outfit, Super Calo did.
Yes, he did.
Oh, listen to this one. Booker T defended his world television title against Steven Regal, Lord Steven Regal. This was before he was the real man's man.
Who, by the way, I haven't booked yet. Steven Regal.
Something to think about. Let's see here. Conan with Vincent defeated Hugh Morris. Marcus, Hugh Morris has been getting some tepid reactions here. Reimagined WCW.
He was getting tepid reactions in real life. Hugh Morris, I always say he was kind of like the late 90s version of Bam Bam Bigelow. Like what Bam Bam Bigelow was, that's what Hugh Morris was physically. So yeah, it's I'm trashing Hugh Morris right now. I'm kind of burying him as far as storylines are concerned. He's just like fodder for people, but I have ideas for Hugh down the road. Yeah.
You were talking about that. Next up, Scott Hall with Dusty Rhodes, who is not in the NWO or the Wolfpack in mock WCW. No, he is with Scott Hall here. While Scott Hall defeated Jim Neidhart. Bill Goldberg defeated Mark Starr in singles action. Steve Mongo McMichael, who has been in the spotlight of Marcus's WCW, has fought the British Bulldog in a double countout. And then a singles match was Raven defeated Disco Inferno. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott, obviously, they defeated Buff Bagwell and Big Sexy Kevin Nash. Wow, that's quite the tag team. Yes, and then in the main event, Sting defeated Randy Savage by disqualification. So that was the actual WCW Monday Nitro of February 2nd, 1998. And now, Marcus, how do you rewrite this WCW?
Let me say, too, that main event, Savage and Sting, what a match to give away on free TV. My goodness.
Yeah.
Before we fire off on that, Dom, we just got another one from James.
Okay.
Yeah, always good.
Let me try the name out. I have not given it the proper zing that we have here at WrestleZone. So it is James Espanto Fernando Taquai. Not as good.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what, that was legit.
I tried. I could not roll my R's, so something I got to work on.
Since this is not an AEW podcast, we won't belabor this, but I thought it was an interesting question. To me, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, if they made the jump over, that could be that moment. This is what he's saying. That could be that moment for AEW, kind of like NWO. I agree, but it's so improbable that would never happen. Now, one that could possibly happen is CM Punk. Now that would be another moment like that.
Yeah, that would be something.
So there's always those options. And let me tell you, man, you get a hold of the right people. Doesn't have to be the main eventers. It can be somebody like CM Punk who's been out of the spotlight for a while. It could have been somebody like Cesaro if they could have got him when his contract was expiring. It's.
Could you imagine a well-suited, well-dressed Lou Thez like Cesaro showing up?
It would be unbelievable. Not to mention somebody like, how about Joe Hennig? I think Joe Hennig could pull it off if they put him in the right storyline. So something to think about. But anyways, this is not an AEW podcast.
Tomorrow on Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude.
That's a good point, Dominic. Let's talk about it tomorrow on Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes, which we will be doing live. All right, here we go, guys. Nitro from February 2nd, 1998. The pyro goes off, and we're live on TNT, just like Dominic and I are live right now. Shivani and Tenay welcome us back as Zbyszko does his usual pandering shtick. The announce team gives us quite an earful about Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage attacking DDP at the end of Nitro. They tell us that after they went off the air, Sting emerged from the rafters to protect DDP. Zbyszko tells us that Hogan and Savage turned tail to run off like the cowards that they are. Tony tells us that DDP will be in action tonight defending his U.S. title. Juventud Guerrero will answer the challenge of Chris Jericho and defend his Cruiserweight title. And Sting is scheduled for the main event this evening and has put his World Heavyweight title on the line against Buff Bagwell. Next up, however, they have the Steiner brothers defending their tag team titles against Wayne Bloom and Mike Enos.
Now, if you're not familiar with, if you aren't tuned into the podcast recently, there's been some tension between the Steiner brothers.
I've been a little bit more of a slow build than they actually were, I think, in WCW, where it's like just week after week, it's just like another thing going wrong for the Steiners. How soon before we get to see Big Papa Pump?
Holla, if you hear me.
All right. So, by the way, Bloom and Enos, they'll come out to a mild fan reaction, much like Hugh Morris does here. But fans didn't know it at the time, but these guys were a pair of bad asses. They were both members of that Minnesota gang, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew or whatever they called themselves. Mm-hmm. So yeah, these guys were a couple bad asses. I think that Wayne Bloom was he held some world record as far as like a deadlift or something crazy like that. Like just like phenomenal athletes, unbelievably strong guys. But here, they're kind of storyline fodder. All right, so Steiner Rise plays, and Rick Steiner comes out alone. Again, he's stuck by himself, but the announcers put over the fact that this time he isn't just wrestling without support. He's actually defending the tag team titles by himself.
Oh.
The match will be a classic tale of two guys taking advantage of one guy. Lots of tags between Enos and Bloom, and Rick is fighting from underneath for the entirety of the match. But in the end, Rick is going to mount a comeback. He knocks Enos off the apron, and as Enos is trying to run in and help his partner, then he climbs to the top rope and he catches Bloom with that top rope bulldog for the victory. He sells the damage he's taken big time as he's headed to the back, and the announcers show real disgust for Scott Steiner abandoning his brother on this title defense. So Rick Steiner, he got it done himself, but man, he is not unscathed, and it's all because his brother ditched him.
Petulant child, that Scott Steiner, much like you would do, I know, in situations.
I would 100% ditch you in a scheduled fight, Dominic.
100%.
Hey, before we hammer on, James also asked, how are you guys booking Ming? I've done very little with Ming. He and the Barbarian did a job as the Faces of Fear at the last pay-per-view. But I do have plans for Ming because he was a legit badass. Problem with Ming, I feel, is the same problem you encounter with Goldberg. He was stiff, and he, while he was an engaging person and he was fun to watch, I think he was just a little bit too stiff, not just potatoing people, but also he wasn't very fluid in the ring. So I don't know. I want to book Sting Ming because I recognize how valuable he is. I just got to find the right way to do it.
How great Was the Tongan Death Grip though?
It was pretty fun to watch. I remember as a kid thinking, like, man, that looks like it hurts. Like, just the way he would, like, lock it in. I remember thinking, like, ooh, I would never want that to happen to me.
That would be bad news.
All right. So next, we head backstage where Booker T is standing by Mean Gene Okerlund. Booker T, last week you saved Lex Luger from the same fate Steve Mongo McMichael met at the hands of the flock, particularly their leaders, Raven and Canyon. Tonight, you challenge a member of their own, Scotty Riggs. Do you have any fear that these men will try to exact some revenge? Mean Gene, last week, those men showed the world exactly what kind of cowards they are when they jumped Lex Luger and tried to burn him. Tonight, the only heat in that ring will be straight from Harlem because nobody burns hotter than Booker T, sucker.
No, I repeat that.
So as I was writing that, I was like, I have to put sucker at the end of this. Gene throws back to Shivani, who puts over the fact that we will see every WCW title defended here tonight. He tells because we've got Booker T defending the TV title. We had the tag title already. The only one we're missing, I guess, is the women's title, which was short-sighted of me. I think there was someone in Japan was holding that title during this time, if I remember right.
I can't remember.
I know Medusa wasn't around.
Oh, yeah, she trashed the thing.
No, that was the WWE title.
Oh, that's right.
WCW.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Dominic, come on, get your shit together.
Nice.
Gene goes back to Shivani, who puts over the fact that they're defending all the titles here tonight. He tells us a man who has been climbing the ladder of success in WCW slowly is in action next, and he has had only one question during his crusade for domination: who's next? We cut to a very 90s video package of Goldberg spearing the living shit out of all of his opponents and landing his vicious jackhammer. The video slowly builds in speed and finally stops with Goldberg after a match asking the ring camera, who's next? Goldberg. So I think we can all imagine this stupid 90s video package that they would have put it together back then, which would have been awesome. Goldberg's music hits and Demand makes his way to the ring. I'm kind of jump starting him a little bit faster in my version of WCW just because, like, obviously I have foresight on my side and I know what direction this train is headed in, right?
Do you mean hindsight?
Yeah, hindsight. Well, foresight. No, it wouldn't be foresight. That would be for the future. Dominic, you son of a bitch.
That's why I'm a writer.
So I'm going crazy though, because I know what direction this train is headed in. We're doing pyro and we're doing the smoke, and Goldberg is breathing the smoke and he's throwing the punches and kicks. So he's becoming this fire breathing dragon that we all came to know and love. The camera cuts to his opponent, Van Hammer, who's already in the ring, and Hammer is visibly shaken by the sight of Goldberg making his way down to the ring. He is no longer a member of the flock. If I didn't make that clear, he's simply doing his rock star bullshit gimmick that he had, because he's a jobber, and he was in this version of WCW. Spoiler alert: he is never going to be more than a jobber. He was not a good worker.
Oh, we lost all the Van Hammer fan base now.
Yeah. Sorry to all you faithful Van Hammer people.
Van Hammer heads.
I can almost guarantee he will never go over in a match in my version of WCW. So it's spoiler alert. All right, so let's state the obvious. Both of these guys were not good in the ring, but Hammer was a big dude, and he was in great shape. He had a great look, so he makes perfect fodder for Goldberg here. Goldberg is going to absolutely eat him alive, though, and I'm giving this match 3 minutes, and we all know how it ends. So I'm not going to belabor that point. I saw that James asked us. Dominic, go ahead.
Yeah, Dom Marcus, what would you think of Goldberg? Yeah, using his moveset like he did in New Japan. Marcus, do you recall how he used his moves in there?
I know I saw a video of him in New Japan once, but I don't recall what happened.
I don't recall what he did either. I'd be very curious to see if maybe he used more of his like judo background or something in that. Or
well, now I know what I'm doing tonight. I think I'm going to go on YouTube and watch Goldberg in New Japan.
Isn't that surreal? Like to kind of think about like New Japan and them having guys like Brock Lesnar, Goldberg,
it's
Nash.
It's insane.
Yeah. Okay, he said Goldberg used the one-hand spine buster in the choke slam.
Dude, that would be something to do. That one-handed, like when he would grab somebody, gorilla press them,
Up. Yeah.
and then spine buster them. Like, dude, he did it to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20. So the crowd was dead the whole time at WrestleMania 20
That's
because
right.
they were both so out of it. But as soon as Goldberg did that everybody came unglued because it was just such a sight to see. Like, it looks like physically it should be impossible for him to do that to a guy Brock Lesnar's size. So it was just wild.
Yeah. Man.
So I will be watching that. Thanks for the heads up on that, James. All right, so when we return from the break, Eddie Guerrero's theme is playing, and he comes out with Psychosis and Chavo. Chavo and Eddie are both dressed in street gear, but Psychosis is wearing his ring gear as he's about to lock it up next. All three men are mean mugging the camera and talking trash to the fans as they come to the ring.
Mark, real quick, James also mentioned that he was like, I'd love to see Eddie lead like an LAX faction instead of LWO. Well, here it is. If you weren't in earlier, James, we did mention he does have a new faction. It's called Los Latinos.
Latinos. Dominic designed a T-shirt for it already. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, it's I kind of took LWO, which I thought was a little bit derivative, and just said, hey, they're Los Latinos now. So all right, the British Bulldogs theme plays next, and he comes out with Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart. I am picturing a ton of pyro and the British Bulldog with his like British flag cape. He's all oiled up.
He's all
and the announcers.
Does Bret Hart have the Howard Stern sunglasses?
Absolutely, yes. He's gone are the days of those like flat glasses he would hand to the kids. Now he's straight up Howard Stern version of Bret Hart. And the announcers are putting over the idea that we might see this thing devolve into a brawl between these two groups. I love the idea of Bulldog and Psychosis in the ring. I think both were great technicians, and I can imagine this match being an absolute spectacle. I'm giving them 20 minutes here, 20 minutes or more.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm picturing a lot of teases of conflict between the two groups on the outside. There'll probably be like a commercial break situation. But ultimately, Eddie and Chavo keep backing off whenever these conflicts come to a head. So we're kind of getting the crowd amped up that it might happen. But then Eddie and Chavo are like kind of walking away. Finally, for the finish, Bulldog is covering Psychosis, but Eddie pulls him out of the ring before the ref can make the 3 count. The ref doesn't disqualify the match, but Hart and Neidhart have seen enough, and they come around the ring and attack Chavo and Eddie. Psychosis is rolled back into the ring and is immediately caught by Bulldog's running power slam for the victory. Eddie and Chavo both turn tail and run away from Hart and Neidhart and pull Psychosis out of the ring to help him to the back. The camera focuses on the face of Guerrero, who is looking with rage at Bret Hart before we go back to the announce booth. So the announcers begin discussing the bad blood between Hart and Guerrero when Bret Hart and Neidhart and the British Bulldog they come up to the announce booth because
I love it. I loved it when wrestlers would do that.
Yeah, I always thought it was really cool too. Yes, especially when it wasn't heels. Like if a babyface came up because he was like on a mission. So that's what's happening here. Tony defers to Bret Hart and provides him with a headset. Eddie Guerrero, you and your crew have done an awful lot of talking these past few weeks about being lied to, being overlooked, and being cheated. Well, maybe you've heard, but myself and these men also happen to know a thing or two about being cheated and being betrayed. When we got screwed by Vince McMahon and the WWF, it would have been easy for us to do what you're doing. It would have been easy for us to live in the hate and cheat to get ahead and manipulate others to accomplish our goals. But instead, here we are. We pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we're here to prove ourselves in WCW. Los Latinos can keep lying, cheating, and stealing. The Hart Dungeon is going to get ahead the old-fashioned way. Hard work. Next week, Eddie, I'm going to give your nephew Chavo something that you yourself would never be selfless enough to give him. I'm giving him an opportunity. Next week, Chavo, if you can gather what little courage you have, I'm challenging you to step into the ring with the excellence of execution. Let's see if you can rise to the challenge. With that, the Hart Dungeon leaves, and Tony and the crew are left flabbergasted. So there we have it. I'm just calling them the Hart Dungeon, man. That's where they were all trained. I think it's fun because it's some old school, wrestling stuff, but also because it's like a very WC, like they had the Dungeon of Doom in WCW, right? So now this is the new dungeon.
That's not bad. Let's get some feedback on there. If you guys like that, sound off. I kind of like the Hart Stampede.
Oh, the Heart Stampede.
That's kind of my choice.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that something was done on live TV and then got altered. I'm thinking about Goldust coming out as 7 on WCW TV. So yeah, guys, weigh in. If you prefer, what do you prefer, the Heart Stampede or the Heart Dungeon for the name of the new faction?
And heck yeah, if you guys give feedback here, we'll also make a poll on Twitter and see what's a better name.
Yep. So please provide us with the early feedback here, and we'll get the rest of it on Twitter at another time.
Yeah.
All right, so after a merch promo, we're back, and it's Booker T versus Scotty Riggs. I think Scotty was unbelievably underrated as a wrestler. Let me say, I follow him on Twitter, and he's pretty entertaining there. He's got a lot going on with his life, but I think he was a genuinely good guy, and he was a great technician. I thought he had an awesome look, and I thought he just had a ton of potential that never got fully realized. So in any case,
yeah, and I really liked his look though in the flock, like just the eye patch.
It was a cool look. It with like the wet hair all the time, and he just like looked like a gross, miserable dude. So it was a cool look. I just feel like he wasn't given the opportunities, and I hope that I can do that for him in this version of WCW as we move down the road.
Well, kind of a real quick, James mentions a kind of a flock faction is Decay and Impact. Marcus, you're not too familiar with Impact right now, but that's like Rosemary, Black Taurus, and Crazy Steve are all in the faction of Decay. He suggests like something to the effect of Vampiro, Chris Kanyon, and Ming. Well,
let me tell you, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. But Marcus has something really going on too, James, with the flock. And Kanyon in the flock. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, but let me say, Ming being a part of like something like the flock, that's you've got me interested.
Very intriguing.
It certainly got me thinking. And I have said before that if people come up with good ideas on this thing, like I will pull the trigger on them. So to me, that's a pretty damn good idea.
Yeah.
All right, I lost my spot. Give me a sec, Dominic.
That's okay.
Oh, okay. So tonight, however, as much as I love Scotty Riggs and I want to put him over, he's just the bridge for a storyline I'm working on. So Booker is going to retain his television title against Scotty in a clean victory with the Harlem Hangover. The minute the ref counts to 3, Raven and Kanyon are there to give Booker a beating. They don't get very far, though, as now it's Lex's turn to run down and make the save for Booker. The flock powders, and we end hour 1 with Lex helping Booker T to his feet. Both of them are glaring in the direction of the flock. So if you guys remember, if you have been listening, the flock has been specifically targeting like the pretty boys and the jocks and the body guys in WCW because they want to put a stop to it. That's not the version of wrestling that they want. So who better than to come after them, Booker T and Lex Luger.
And you know what, too? Well, if you're like not familiar tuning in, Marcus, you started off with none other than Mongo McMichael was their first target.
Yep, Mongo McMichael. He got his face burned at Sold Out 1998. So who knows when we'll see Mongo again? That's a horrible thing to have happen to you.
Canyon's a bit of a pyromaniac in this universe.
Yes, yes. This version of Kanyon really is into fire. All right, so we come back for hour 2, and we find quite a crew in the ring. We've got Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Dusty Rhodes, Larry Zbyszko, Dean Malenko, and Tully Blanchard. And when Tully sees the red light of the hard cam come on, he goes to work on the mic. Everybody here in this arena and everybody watching at home, you all know who I am. That's the kind of respect that 28 years in the wrestling business has earned me. That's the kind of respect I've earned by growing up as a second-generation wrestler like Dean Malenko here. That's the kind of respect I've earned as a horseman and one of the best damn wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots. I've spent the past few years sitting at home watching Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and the rest of the NWO try to take over the business that I was raised in. I would expect that kind of behavior from a couple of Johnny-come-latelys like the Outsiders and Conan, but from you, Kurt Hennig, and you, Rick Rude, I've never been more disgusted in my life. Well, tonight, I'm going to knock off the ring rust against your new friend Conan, and I hope you're both watching closely because I intend to remind both of you what our business is really about, respect. And by the way, these men you see behind me, They're here to even the odds because we all know that you members of the Wolfpack are too damn cowardly to face us one-on-one. So I tried to capture Tully's promo stuff. I feel like I did him justice, but man, Tully is awesome on the mic.
Yeah, and he's showing that too right now in AEW.
Yes, he is. So Tully pulls off his robe and he reveals that he's in ring gear and ready to go right now. Ready or Not hits and the Wolfpack all come slinking out of the back. So if you remember, if you've been listening, it's not the Wolfpack theme anymore, even though that Wolfpack theme was awesome. Now it's Ready or Not by the Fugees.
I think it's the Fugees, Marcus.
The Fugees? I thought it was the Fugees. Oh, geez.
I don't think so.
See, I thought it was like refugees, Fugees.
No, I don't think so. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I think I might be right. Weigh in the comments.
Help us with our ineptitude.
Yeah, let me shut Dominic down. Where am I? Okay. They aren't wearing their usual smug grins, but they're all very serious as they make their way to the ring. Konnan is out in front, and he's wearing the Red Wolfpack shirt, and he's talking a lot of trash to the cameras. This match would have been a lot of fun to watch, I feel. Tully could still go, obviously, and Konnan was in his prime, I think, in this era. This was like the best version of Konnan.
Konnan was my mind was blown when I found out, I only knew Konnan from WCW, NWO, but here he is like a Mexican luchador legend.
Yeah, he was. Everybody compares him to Hulk Hogan in Mexico. They said that he was Mexico's version of Hulk Hogan. He was everywhere, all over pop culture, TV, you name it, merchandise. So he was a really, really big get for WCW in this era.
Yep.
So Tully's going to have the early advantage here, but Curt Hennig is going to distract Tully so Konnan can mount a comeback. For the finish, Tully will regain the advantage and hit a pile driver, which prompts the Wolfpack to make like they're going to jump into the ring. Arn, Rick, Dusty, Larry, and Dean make a beeline around the ring, and a massive brawl breaks out. In the meantime, Konnan has attempted to sneak up on Tully, but Tully turns in time, kicks Konnan in the gut, and gets him with the slingshot suplex and a float over for the victory. Tully immediately rolls out of the ring and joins the fight, backing the Wolfpack off and winning this battle as we head to a commercial. So these guys are showing that they're not just a bunch of old guys who were over in the 80s. That's kind of the storyline here, is that like these guys, they recognize that they're trying to get a strong foot. The Wolfpack is trying to get a strong foothold on the business, and they're doing everything they can to stop it. All right, when we return, we are backstage with Chris Jericho and Mean Gene. Gene starts to intro Jericho, but Jericho grabs the mic from him. Shut up, Gene. Tonight, all of my Jerichoholics are going to witness me achieving my goal and regaining my Cruiserweight Championship from that stupid jerk, Juventud Guerrero. And I can promise that you will never, ever see me without that belt again after tonight.
I have to say, I'm a little upset you're not having Jericho butcher their names like Scheme Gene.
Oh, I really should have. Next time around, I'll be better. Let's see. Jericho slams the mic back into Gene's chest, and Gene throws back to Tony, Bobby, and Mike. So Jericho's music hits as the guys are telling us what an ass he is. Heenan does remind the audience, however, that Jericho's new personality has also made him a winner, and he expects to see Jericho leave tonight as the new champion. Hoovy is out next, and he gets quite a nice pop. I've been building him like crazy here. I really want Hoovy to be a star. I think he could have been a star if it wasn't for a lot of his outside of the ring stuff. I just noticed that James is asking about Rick Rude in Rewritten. Rick Rude is in the Wolfpack, so I don't know that I made it clear that he did come out, but yes, Rick Rude is there, and he's a member of the Wolfpack.
He's asking too if he's about to wrestle.
So that's something I've been thinking a lot about, because so famously on Eric Bischoff's podcast 83 Weeks with Conrad Thompson, Bischoff was telling a story about how he had a falling out with Rick Rude because Rick Rude asked him to buy out his Lloyd's of London contract. So Rick Rude suffered an injury at the hands of Sting. I think they were in Japan. He suffered a bad back injury, and so he cashed in on his insurance through Lloyd's of London, and he got a $400,000 payout to retire. And so he was asking Eric Bischoff to pay off that $400,000 to Lloyd's of London so he could come back into the ring, and Bischoff refused. But I don't know. In this version of WCW, maybe Bischoff says, yeah, all right. Like, you'll earn us back that money.
If the storylines, warrants it, man.
Yep. So that's a good question, James. And I'm glad you asked it because I've been meaning to mention that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, this match, I'm going to say this match deserves at least 20 minutes, maybe even closer to 25 minutes, because these two had amazing chemistry in the ring, and they almost always stole the show. And whatever event they wrestle each other on, they were almost always the best match on the card. Jericho's going to tease trying to remove Juvi's mask several times, but of course it won't work. For the finish, Jericho is going to get frustrated at a failed pin attempt following the lion salt and attempt to grab a chair from the outside. When he goes to grab a chair by the barricade, however, a fan wearing a hoodie and a plastic sting mask will raise the mask and reveal himself to be Ultimo Dragon. Dragon will spit red mist into Jericho's face, blinding him. Chris will stumble away and be pulled back into the ring by his hair by Juvi. He'll hit the Juvi driver and follow it up with the 450 for the victory.
Now, was Ultimo a mister?
A mister?
Yeah, did he miss?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he used to come out to the ring at the start of his match, and he'd blow red mist into the air, almost like a fire-breathing dragon thing.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
So
there you go. I don't know that he ever misted anybody in the face, but he is here.
Okay.
Juvi celebrates, but when the camera finds Ultimo Dragon, who has climbed over the barricade and is headed for the backstage area, he is glaring toward the champion as he backs down the aisle. Next, we are treated to a vignette, more of the same Vogue black and white and artsy camera work, as we now find Rick Martel and Alex Wright posing for a photographer wearing swimsuits. After striking poses and looking like complete douchebags, Martel talks to Wright. Alex, when you've been a supermodel in America for as long as I have, you'll come to learn that the only good thing about these idiot Americans is their money and their women. And they're more than happy to give out both to a couple of real men like us. It's true, Alex says. These Americans aren't real men like they pretend to be in their Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis movies. They're all more like Woody Allen. Alex and Rick laugh as two beautiful women bring them champagne on a platter. The two put their arms around the women and drink from the flutes. Martel says, "It's good to be runway royalty," and the vignette ends. So how good is that?
I hope they're the ones that start going to the Nitro house parties.
Oh, could you imagine that? Oh God, I forgot about the Nitro house parties. But yeah, so we've got a new tag team name there. They're going to be called Runway Royalty, and we're doing the vignettes of them being complete unlikable assholes.
It's pretty clever name there.
Thank you. When we return from the break, DDP's theme hits, and he comes storming to the ring with the U.S. title around his waist, and he immediately grabs a mic. Because of Hulk Hogan and his BS politicking backstage with that worm Eric Bischoff, nobody can give me a straight answer about who I'm defending my title against tonight. Well, Hollywood, Mama didn't raise no fool. I can see the writing on the wall, and if you think you can take this belt from me, you're welcome to drag your sorry ass down here and get it. Voodoo Child comes on, and DDP is ready to fight. The crowd erupts as they believe that we are going to see Hulk Hogan versus DDP on Nitro for the U.S. title. Hogan, however, has a mic in his hand.
Uh-oh.
Dallas, you're paranoid, man. You think a big star like me wants any belt other than the world heavyweight title, brother? That big old belt and the power it represents means everything to me, dude. But I will say, a close second is getting to see you get embarrassed on national television. You see, the NWO has gotten a little lighter the past couple of months, so I've been out doing some recruiting, dude, and I found myself a new friend who's been just dying to meet you.
Horace?
Yeah, you better watch your back, Jack. With that, the camera returns to the ring, and we find Brian Clark standing behind Paige after having emerged from under the ring. He is no longer in his Wrath gimmick, and instead his singlet, if you remember, he had that Wrath singlet, and it had like the squiggly lines going up and down it. Instead, those are all in white. He's wearing a black singlet. Those are all in white, and it says NWO on the front. The The announcers make it a point to shout his shoot name to get it over for the viewing audience.
That's Brian Clark.
That's Brian Clark. It's hilarious because I literally have that in my notes. That's Brian Clark.
Yep.
Clark attacks DDP from behind, and this match gets jump started. Clark is going to wipe the floor with Page throughout the contest for the most part. Hogan has made his way to ringside and is cheering Clark on. At the end, Page begins to mount his comeback and nails Clark with his discus clothesline, putting the big man on his ass for the first time in the match. Hogan gets up on the apron and trash talks Page as the ref tries to get in between them. Clark is crawled over, and he low blows Page while the ref is distracted. Clark nails DDP with the death penalty, and he gets the 3 count for the victory. Brian Clark is the new U.S. champion.
Whoa, damn.
Dude, Brian Clark had an incredible look. He had incredible size. He just was not ever given like the right gimmick. In WWF, he was Adam Bomb. Then he came in and he was like, "Oh, fresh start." And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna call you Wrath.
You're gonna kind of look like Adam Bomb,
right? And we're gonna pair you with that perverted guy, the Sinister Minister." It'll be great. It'll be great.
It'll work out just fine. You're good.
And then when he finally does catch steam with Chronic, then like it just ends, right? WCW comes to a close. They get like one match in WWF against Kane and the Undertaker, instantly get buried, and then we just never see him again. Awesome. So I like Brian Clark. I think he had a ton of potential. So let's bring it out. Let's get him a good gimmick. Let's call him by his shoot name, and like let's make it happen.
All right, get to cooking. You know, the NWO needs some fresh meat in there, and you know, why not put Brian Clark in there with the U.S. title nonetheless?
Oh my God, yeah, why not? Mm-hmm. So Hogan and Clark make their way to the back, and Clark is holding up the title in victory. The camera returns to DDP, who is sitting in the ring shooting daggers at Hogan. We go to a final break before the main event. All right, and so for the main event, we have got Sting taking on Buff Bagwell. And, you know, it's obviously this is a world title shot. I think we all know exactly how this match is going to go, right? We've got Sting. He comes down from the rafters. Buff Bagwell comes out doing his cocky gimmick. And Buff is going to get heat. You know, Sting's going to, of course, have the early advantage because Buff Bagwell is just outmatched. Buff is going to cheat. And then Sting, you know, is going to be fighting from underneath. Sting regains the advantage, and he's gonna nail the Scorpion Death Drop and get the victory. So we're not gonna put him over with the Deathlock, since we've already done that a few times. I want him to hit the Death Drop. But as Sting stands up, who comes and attacks him from behind? But the Macho Man, who Sting, if you remember last week, Sting attacked him backstage and put the Sting mask over his face. Well, this time the Macho Man kicks the crap out of Sting, leaves him laying, and he's got a pair of Macho Man sunglasses. Yeah. And and he puts them on Sting's face before spray painting his chest with NWO. And that's how the show is going to close out.
All right.
So yeah, trying to build all the angles, trying to get all these jigsaw pieces to fit together. But yeah, it's, you know, we're marching toward uncensored.
Yeah, it's when is uncensored? What's the date for that? Do you know?
I don't recall the date. I want to say it's in like 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks.
Now, fun fact, I clearly remember watching uncensored on pay-per-view, but not on pay-per-view. It was via the squiggly lines you'd always get.
Yep. Yeah, we would go to the pay-per-view channel when that was still a thing, and we would just listen to it like it was old-fashioned radio. And Dominic and I would be so into it. We'd be like cheering. You know, we'd be excited. We'd be nervous.
I'd be so nervous, especially because Uncensored 98, if you guys don't know, Scott Hall is my favorite wrestler. And so that's when Scott Hall got his world title shot against Sting. And I was panic-stricken. And I could not see a thing of it. And then, I remember getting very amped up during that match. Very amped up.
All we had was the voice of Tony Schiavone to tell us
what was going on. And you could hear the slams and stuff, but you could not see what was going on.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, James has written back in a couple times about Medusa versus Sherry. I would love the idea of Medusa versus Sherry. Sherry was fired, I believe, in 1997 due to some substance abuse issues. But in this world, of course, in the parameters that I laid out, substance abuse, injuries, etc., they're not going to creative control, stuff like that. Those factors are not contributing factors here. So if I wanted to bring Sherry back in, theoretically, I could. But yeah, I would love to see Medusa in a in the women's title role, of course, in WCW. The problem is that the women's title was kind of just like trash. It was fodder. Nobody really cared about it. It was just like this secondary title. And that being the case, we didn't see a lot of women wrestlers during this era. So like I want to have a women's division, but the problem that I bump into is I don't know any of these women.
Yeah,
that were big names back then. I know Bull Nakano. I love her. I think she was my favorite female wrestler of the era. Of course, I know Medusa. I know who Rick Martel is, and that's about where it ends.
That's about it. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll have to do some research because Medusa's money. I think Sherry's money. Bull Nakano, of course, was money. So like, I would like to get the women's division going because, as you said, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker it's one of the most compelling things in pro wrestling today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of WCW Rewritten. We appreciate you guys joining us live. And yeah, we're gonna maybe do this again sometime soon, huh, Dom?
Yeah, I think the live version of this is pretty fun, and to get that instant kind of reaction and kind of like the outside feedback, bouncing it off extra walls is probably pretty good for you, beneficial. So
no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, please, feel free to write into the show with any ideas or criticisms or thoughts. And you can write in at WCW Rewritten on Twitter. You can also follow me on Twitter at Marcus P. DeAngelo, and feel free to trash me or whatever you feel like doing there. If you want to give me accolades, that's nice. I appreciate those. But
how many followers are you up to now?
I think I'm just under 100. I want to say like 93, 94.
Wow. How about that? Marcus, I was on Twitter for like 10 years and didn't hit 100 followers, I don't think, till like 9 years into it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, shucks.
Oh, goodness.
Well, yeah, I'm enjoying the interactions with people on Twitter. So yeah, please, by all means, follow me. You can DM me. Don't send me anything gross. My DMs are open.
No, you don't want any junk mail. Go into them DMs.
Yeah, please don't send me that. I don't need to see that.
Nope. Yeah. Okay, folks. Tomorrow we will be back here, but for AEW Dynamite, where we do 2 Dynamite dudes with attitude. We're gonna just break everything down from what happened yesterday, and I like the show, so it's gonna be some good stuff. It's gonna be some real good stuff coming up. So.
Yep. We'll see you guys tomorrow. By the way, you can follow Dominic at Dominic DeAngelo on Twitter, and you can follow WrestleZone at WrestleZone.com. And WrestleZone's the place to go for all of your wrestling news needs. So yeah, guys. Yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow live. Hopefully, I hope you can all join us. Yeah, it'd be great. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and let's make this happen again. So adios. All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, Dom, what's our sign off? We're desperately out of time. Oh, yeah, we are out of time. We got to go. Yeah, the tape machines are rolling. We'll see you guys next time.